Well, I've been a personal safety and development officer for about 20 years now. So I developed training programs and implemented police, military personnel, lots of corporate training. But my sort of interest working with young people and developing a life skills for children program started a couple of years ago. Really because I had a lot of children coming to, from a martial arts perspective, learning self-defence, saying that they were either being bullied at school and they wanted something that was practical and realistic, that was non-physical, they could learn very, very quickly and retain the information. And a lot of the skills that I was previously doing were quite complicated techniques you have to spend a lot of years to sort of developing before you get any good. So life skills as a blueprint was laid down a couple of years ago to sort of tackle some of the bullying issues that we have in schools, of which I will say a lot of schools don't like to acknowledge, and that's a passion of mine. I think the concept is every parent wants the best for their children, every teacher acknowledges that children should be taught the right skills, but there's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape. I mean, I've met some fantastic teachers. I know you're speaking to Michelle Crook from Reactivate earlier on. Great, very engaging teacher, very open-minded, and realised that there had to be an alternative solution. Other teachers include Peter Kennedy from St Monica's School and Mary Wood from Mark Rutherford in Bedford. The problem is probably for every 10 schools I go to, 7 of them don't either acknowledge they've got a bullying issue because they want to market their schools in a positive way, or more importantly, a lot of teachers don't actually want to go out that extra mile to help their children. They have difficulty assessing what these children's needs are. And bullying is a very, very difficult thing to address from the outset. I mean, what do you say? A parent will naturally say, as soon as their child has been called a bad name, it's called bullying. But bullying is so many different ends of the spectrum. The unfortunate thing is, in the last couple of years, I've worked with hundreds of parents of kids who have been on the end of the spectrum, which is where it's gone from verbal to physical bullying. Sometimes that's not in school, sometimes that's in social arenas, sometimes it's at home. And it's those issues that I really want to address. The good thing about life skills is preventive measures. So it's about getting these kids when they're 5 years old, teaching them some practical skills to assess and avoid a situation. So by the time they get to teenagers, they don't feel the need to be alienated and join some of these gangs, or some of the antisocial behaviour that we're being witnessing via the media sort of can be dispersed early, just by getting these kids to feel confident enough to be able to talk to the right people. That's what it's about, really. I think everyone's viable to turn. I was a really violent sort of young individual myself, and I suppose for myself, meeting my wife at the age of sort of 17, 18 was the turning point for me, because she was very, very direct in giving me an ultimatum. Either stop being stupid and violent and doing the things you're doing, or you're going to lose me. For me, that was the turning point for me. But with a lot of young people that I work with, I think it's about actually saying society's gone a bit too PC. We're too easily encouraged by bureaucracy and saying we can't do this with children, we can't do that with children, we wrap them with cotton wool. And actually some of these children don't get that early education they need, so by the time they actually causing problems in schools, they need, if you like, a more direct approach. They need to be not locked into a room, but placed into a room and said, this is the difference between right and wrong, you've not accepted these rules, if you don't accept them, these are the consequences. And we do have schools across the country and MPs that I've spoken to at minister level, Tony McNulty, Vernon Coker, Beverly Hughes, all of which do a good talk, but unfortunately they don't support it with any action, which is really where life skills and now Reactivate are working. We're about actually educating these kids in the preventive measures, and then the turning around point when we've re-engaged them into education is where Reactivate come in and says, let's put these kids into some job placements, in some work experience. So we've got them back engaged in education, now we can actually turn them around, show them the brighter side of life. Sometimes that's the parents' fault. We've got to be honest with it, it's not always the teachers. Sometimes the parents just let these kids down. But as it's always said to me, you don't get a parenting book when you first become a parent. But some of the parents are so young themselves when they're having kids, they've not learnt those skills themselves. So I'm the Jamie Oliver of the personal safety world when it comes to kids. I'm on a mission, and in all honesty, I'm surrounding myself with some good people to make it happen. Our stumbling block? MPs. I think the biggest thing is to have an outlet. A lot of the young people that I deal with don't have the basic confidence to be able to get up and stand up in front of their peers, maybe just a basic presentation, talk about themselves confidently. And it starts in. Once you lose the confidence, then specifically if you're in a bullying scenario, it gets more and more complicated to be able to speak to people that potentially can help you. And one of the things that I've seen as a major benefit is just by teaching them awareness skills, teaching them how to communicate correctly, teaching them how to enjoy learning the process of being positive whilst having fun, maybe through singing or through dance or through acting or playing sport, football. We have a massive amount of children that are sitting on couches all the day long, playing Xbox, playing PlayStation, and obesity is costing NHS millions and millions of pounds. So my view is, one of the major benefits is we're just giving these kids some of the confidence to try something, what we call set and achieve goals. You know, we're asking them, what do you want to do in a year's time? Because most of these kids have never been asked. In fact, most of the teachers that we deal with don't know how to plan their next 12 months, 18 months, whatever it may be. So to expect the kids to be able to do it. So I think confidence is the biggest thing for me. And then from there we do some amazing things. I mean, in the event today, we saw 5 and 6-year-olds getting on stage and singing songs with no prompts, using the words on their own in front of a microphone. That's what this programme does. It just gives people confidence to believe in themselves. And as Michelle Crook from Reactivate always says, it's allowing children to become the best they can be. And that's really what this programme is about. Well, the pilot's been done. It's been delivered to thousands of young kids, and we've got some fantastic results with good kids. My motto is keep good kids good and turn bad kids good. And by definition of that, I do believe a large majority of young people are not bad children. They just need that right education. What I really want to do is get into the national education curriculum. I've gone down the route of all the ministers, Beverly Hughes and Vernon Coke, as I said before, and most of them just talk and don't act. So I'm not quite sure that's really the way forward. I do believe local business has a part to play. We have lots of headquarters in Milton Keynes alone. I know some of the companies, big blue chip companies, last year alone lost in antisocial behaviour over £4.2 million. So if we can reduce that by educating these kids correctly, by putting them through a Reactivate service and life skills, re-engage them into education, put them into some employment programs, give them a belief, a reason, we can take them out of this antisocial behaviour mould and actually make them beneficial to companies, which reduces the amount of antisocial behaviour, money they're spending on that sort of crime. So I think businesses have a part to play. I think MPs should shut up and walk away or do something about it. And I think actually collectively the community needs to come together, and I'm calling on every parent who has a child to actually say it's about time this was part of the national curriculum through PSHE, which is really what my ultimate goal is. In this country and abroad. And we've got a lot of children abroad through groups like World Vision that actually need this facility as well. And that's sort of phase 2 for me. I think I would have, at the right time, been really beneficial from someone who just sat me down and just said, why are you so angry? Why are you so aggressive? Why do you have to feel the need to fight everybody? And actually, if someone would have asked me those direct questions rather than fluffing around the houses, which seems to happen still to this day, it might have just given me a kick up the bum, not when I was 18 when I met my wife, but actually maybe when I was 7 or 8 years old, and that would have been really beneficial to me. The other thing is, I'm quite a driven person, so for me, sport, whatever I put my hand to, I just give it 100%. But I'm mindful of the fact there was a really long period when I was young where I didn't quite know the difference between right and wrong. And I think if someone would have just said to me, look, focus more on your football, or focus more on believing yourself, or be nice to those people over there and stop being so rude with your mouth, it might have just given me the slap that I needed verbally at the right point in order to make me achieve what I wanted to a bit earlier. Because academically I was shocking. I left school with absolutely no qualifications, and that caused me a massive problem. You fall into a hole. And I know that now youth unemployment is at its highest in the UK, and you have to question, whilst it's important to teach maths and English and all these wonderful skills to our young people, isn't it more important, in my opinion, to teach them how to communicate properly, to be confident, to set goals, achieve goals. So when they leave school, even if they're not academically that bright, they can go into a workplace, sell themselves, become a benefit to the community, and run events like this, or why not? We have a programme called Kids Teach Kids, where we teach young kids from as young as 5 the material will have been life skills, and they teach it to other kids. I mean, how empowering is that? If a 5-year-old can teach another 5-year-old how to communicate correctly, this programme works, and it happens all the time. But we're just not having enough people backing it, and that's what we need. When we approached Portcullis House, which is in Whitehall and Beverly Hughes, just under 2 years ago now, I put a projection together that I could actually deliver this programme for 50 pence per child as part of the national curriculum, every child in the land over the next 3 years. And that was in conjunction with Childline spending £4.55 for every child that makes a phone call and have to put a counsellor onto, with an average child spending 8 times visiting a counsellor. So we were 50 pence against 25, 30 quid for Childline. Post-traumatic preventive measures. It was a no-brainer.